Hi, I'm Lycan, a 37-year-old shepherd dog Therian who's been aware or awakened to my therianthropy since I was around 12 years old.
I go by Kai online, and I'm 29 years old. My identity is that of a snow leopard and eastern dragon polyware. I'm a vassallant therian and experience mild to moderate species dysmorphia and varying degrees of dysphoria. I felt non-human as far back as I can remember, but I didn't possess the awareness of non-human identity being a real thing until I was in my teens.
At first, like many of us, I defaulted to wolf, but more recently settled on shepherd dog as it seems more fitting to my personality and to my experiences.
Until that point, I just tried to repress it as an oddity and hoped it would go away. I've been in the Therian community for about 15 years thanks to the introduction from a high school friend.
I'm a family man who has been blessed with two precious children, a daughter who is 9 years old, a son who is 7, and a wife who's stuck with me despite some very turbulent years.
I'm a stay-at-home mother of one currently, and my little one is a 6-month-old baby girl.
A dog's purpose is to protect and care for those they consider family. It doesn't matter what species they are. Likewise, it really doesn't matter to me if I perceive my kids as human or canine.
There you go. Keep moving up.
We can help you pull from the top.
Here, hold this. I got it. Got you. I'm not gonna let you go. Come on. You can make it.
You made it, Grace.
Raising my child, I definitely feel like I'm raising a human, not an animal.
In some trivial ways, yes, one does seem more familiar or more canine to me than the other, but it's really irrelevant.
Watching her cognizance develop and her current interest in her hands, she's definitely a human in my eyes.
Ironically enough, I began seeing similarities between myself as a child and my daughter around the time she turned 4.
But in my mind, I have hybridized her a little bit, where she's part my husband, who's normal, and part me as I see myself, non-human.
As she's grown, the similarities have become more clear and prominent. She's expressed some feelings of animality despite me doing my best to hide it in myself for years. I believe she may well be a Therian, but I'll wait for her to come to me with those questions.
I feel like as a parent, myself and indeed my therianthropy comes a distant second to my little one and her well-being. I find myself giving up so much, changing my language to cut out cursing, curating my music so it's all a good or at least a neutral influence on her. Hiding my therianthropy really just feels natural, like a no-brainer.
I used to be terrified of my kids finding out that I'm a Therian because I didn't want them to imitate me and follow in my footsteps artificially.
My little one hasn't gotten to the age when we can really converse yet, but I and my husband have already decided we aren't going to disclose my identity to her until she's much older, if at all.
I didn't want them to mirror my animality at their own expense just to be like me. I want them to follow their own way and to discover and develop into who they are, not who or what I am.
If it happens to be a psychological influence thing, I can help mitigate that by just keeping my identity and my non-human mannerisms under wraps. If I can spare my kids a non-human identity, I will gladly do so.
Being a Therian definitely presents some varying degree of struggle in the sense that most people are not like us entirely.
I wouldn't say my therianthropy has prevented function as a parent or caused any real issues, any more than any other normal humaning as a therian does. There are instincts I have to ignore, such as tongue-bathing the baby, but it's easy enough to brush those off after the years of practice.
Most of the time I interact with those who aren't like me. I'm successful at it, but there's always that feeling in the back of my head like you're not one of them.
I think my therianthropy has had an indirect interference with parenthood for me.
I would say that therianthropy doesn't directly interfere with being a parent for me, but it can present some indirect challenges.
My dysmorphia factored into me getting pretty out of shape because the conflicting body map made exercise difficult and dysphoric. Being out of shape has made parenting tougher because I don't have the stamina that I should to be as active as I should with the little one, on top of keeping up with my regular house chores. I'm tackling it now, but the dysmorphia adds an extra layer of difficulty and discomfort to an already uncomfortable process.
On the other hand, parenting takes a lot of patience, forgiveness, tenacity, and a ton of drive. It's one of those things where you've got to be all in. And I do attribute those traits to my kin type, so perhaps it has been beneficial to me in that sense.
On the flip side, I think it does help me too. Humans have an amazing ability to ignore their own instincts, and in recent decades, I think the breeding and parenting instinct has gone by the wayside as well. Being in tune with and experiencing instincts in a non-human way, I think, has helped me harness that familial drive.
I grew up in a broken family and made it a life goal very early on that I wanted to have children and be a father so that I could give something that I never had.
Ever since I grew up, I felt that the family life was my calling. In fact, I think my non-human identity might have drove me a little bit, as that mothering instinct was so strong and natural.
Being a parent, providing for and protecting my kids is a drive that resonates with both the human and animal side of me very deeply.
However, despite the exhaustion, it's also the most rewarding and fulfilling thing I've done.
As a human and as a canine, family is everything.
When I see her smile at me in the mornings, everything else feels trivial.
As a parent, I have a single message. What they are, what your kids are, is something you cannot control. Who they are is something you can influence. The respect and trust of a child is not something that we can make them give to us. It's something we have to earn. Love and cherish them for what they are, no matter how different they may be.
I feel like it's my duty and honor to give my little one the best of myself and keep any of my own baggage from affecting her. I am reassured of that and reinvigorated with every bright-eyed belly laugh. It's hard work, it really is, but so meaningful, and there's nothing else in all the universe I'd rather be doing.
One of the most concerning things I've seen in the Therian community is the trend of young Therians feeling alienated from their parents or caretakers because of how their parents or family members react to finding out. These stories are truly heartbreaking. As a parent, I understand why the reactions. I would likewise be concerned about my child's future and how something that I knew nothing about might affect them. As the Therian, I feel we need to counter this by populating what small media outlets we have with examples that young Therians can indeed grow into very successful and happy adults. Yes, for some individuals, animality will present certain challenges or divergence in how they socialize or maintain relationships, but I'm a firm believer that therianthropes are very capable of doing or being anything they want with enough determination and effort.
Thanks so much to PD for giving me the opportunity to share my take.
Thanks for having me on, PD.
I hope my story can be helpful to someone out there, or at least that I didn't bore you to tears. I'll see my fellow Therians around the community.
Peace.
Bye-bye.